When George Lucas first unleashed his epic space saga Star Wars onto the world in 1977, moviegoers flocked to cinemas to swap out the humdrum of day-to-day existence for exciting adventures in a galaxy far, far away. And since then, the franchise has served as inspiration for an incredibly vast catalogue of video games. So let's take a look at which of these games were the most successful at recapturing that same wondrous feeling of sci-fi escapism.
Now, unless you've been living in a cave on a desert planet in the galaxy's outer rim, you'd know that Star Wars is all about action and adventure.
So let's start with it as the genre that's perhaps been the most prevalent.
Red 5, I'm going in.
Many early Star Wars games tried to replicate that uplifting and heroic action from the films. It wasn't until 1992 that the Super Star Wars series for the Super NES showed us what real action could look like. Bright, colourful and detailed levels that extended the original story, created power-ups, multiple heroes, all combined with tight controls, made the Super series the most exciting Star Wars experience we'd ever had the joy of blasting our way through.
Another reason this, as well as many other Star Wars games, succeeded was due to the heavy use of source material. Recreating those key moments in different forms have allowed us to replay them just as many times as we've rewatched the films.
One of the most unique retellings was in 2005, when Traveller's Tales fulfilled our dreams by bringing our toys to life with the LEGO Star Wars series. That's not to say that tales outside of the main story haven't been just as well received. Shadows of the Empire on the N64 introduced us to the somewhat forgettable but still awesomely named Dash Rendar, whose adventures awkwardly intertwined with the plotline of the original films.
It may be vital to the Alliance. Want to come along, Dash?
Why not? Gotta earn my pay.
Turn back!
Jumping ahead to 2008 and Force Unleashed, which placed its story between the two trilogies, creating a new character in Starkiller and bringing Star Wars action into the modern age with incredible physics-based destruction and saber combat that embraced the unlimited power of machines at the time.
Republic's...
Of course, while we're talking about wielding a more civilized weapon, 2002's Jedi Outcast and its sequel, Jedi Academy, are noted as some of the best games in which to swing a virtual saber without the risk of losing a limb in the process. Must have been a boring conversation anyway.
Worlds will tremble, stars will shudder.
Your shields will fall.
However, these titles were only ever refining gameplay first established back in '95, in a series that would forever change our perspective on how we experience Star Wars: Dark Forces.
Get behind me! Get behind me! Watch your left. They went down the cell base.
While there's never been a lack of blaster fire in the Star Wars galaxy, the genre of first-person shooters remains largely untapped. But after the success of Doom 2 in '94, players were more than ready to step into the boots of mercenary Kyle Katarn and explore the galaxy from a first-person perspective. Laserfire had never felt this dangerous, and its subsequent sequel, Jedi Knight, improved on the experience with 3D character models, superior environments, and for the first time, online multiplayer. It wasn't then until the mid-noughties that we would again pick up a blaster and help defend, or in some cases, attack the universe. Firstly, with Star Wars Battlefront, a conquest-based multiplayer shooter spanning across both trilogies, then again a year later with its sequel. Both games gave us a taste of what it felt like to play a small part in a much larger battle, something that had been rather uncommon in Star Wars games, but still felt intrinsically Star Wars. The only other real addition to the shooter genre was the sleeper hit Republic Commando, an original Xbox title that put players in charge of a team of clone commandos and felt more like a tactical shooter than the arcade heroics we'd become so used to. It was an interesting new angle that depicted a dirtier, grittier side of Star Wars. Speaking of which, Ugh. Let's remember, Star Wars was a movie first, and like many video games based on movies, there's been a whole trash compactor full of terrible titles to fill the gaps between the good ones. Games like Yoda Stories, a Windows desktop adventure with procedurally generated levels, but no central plot or goal. Not much fun to play it was. Obi-Wan for the original Xbox turned the famed Jedi into a sluggish, pathetically underpowered Padawan, and the follow-up to Force Unleashed lacked any innovation whatsoever, feeling more like glorified DLC. Oh, I've got a bad feeling about this. Hex! Commander Hex, can you hear me? Hex, come in! Oh, where could she be? Hex! Hex! Hex!
Hex!
Oh! Sorry, Goose. Give me a second. Being the successful franchise that it was, Star Wars also found its way into all sorts of ill-fitting and embarrassing franchises as well.
You win.
Masters of Teräs Käsi was a Tekken-style fighter that lacked any punch. Star Wars Demolition thought a sci-fi destruction derby was a good idea. Super Bombad Racing was a kart racer that, while not the worst offender, did base most of its characters and levels on the infamous Phantom Menace film. Don't know which one.
Hex, shut it down!
This? And then there was Connect Star Wars, and, well, the less said about that, the better. Oh!
No. No! Anything but this! Hex, turn the trash compactors back on, please! Anything but this, no! Oh, no! Hey, did I miss the briefing?
No, as long as this space station isn't shielded or have any firepower, we'll be fine.
The battle station is heavily shielded and carries a firepower greater than half the Starfleet.
Another key feature of Star Wars that's universally adored is its vehicles, or more accurately, the starfighters.
So what better genre to pull off a few maneuvers of our own than space combat?
A small one-man fighter should be able to penetrate the outer defense.
In fact, one of the first ways we ever experienced Star Wars was from behind the controls of an X-Wing with Atari's arcade classic back in '83. With its vector graphics closely matching the film's level of on-screen tech at the time, the game remains eerily ageless even to this day.
Further exploring the freedom that piloting a vehicle in zero gravity affords, the X-Wing and TIE Fighter series both gained critical acclaim for their technical achievements, while also nailing the tension and exhilaration many had craved since first seeing those iconic vehicles soar on the big screen.
Red leader, incoming missile!
However, when it comes to reliving those key conflicts from the comfort of a cockpit, the Rogue Squadron series successfully gave players a chance to dogfight their way through almost every battle in Star Wars history. Of course, other games explored less familiar corners of the galaxy, such as the prequel-based Starfighter and Jedi Starfighter games, along with the classic FMV adventures Rebel Assault 1 and 2.
Let's take one more path and get back to base.
I hear you.
Which gave 90s die-hard fans the closest thing to a sequel before they would have to experience the dark times.
The prequels.
And while these prequels took a disastrous step back in time, some of the most immersive adventures we've ever had have been by role-playing our way back into ancient Star Wars history.
Then man your ships, and may the Force be with you.
No, just stay here. There's not enough X-Wings anyway, so I think we'll be fine. I've never actually flown a mission in my life.
You're all clear, kid.
In a universe already full of exciting stories and complex lore, RPGs are perfectly suited to give players the chance to live out their ultimate Star Wars fantasy. Oh, Chewie looks fabulous. I know. Often touted as one of the greatest games in the franchise's history, 2003's Knights of the Old Republic gave players the ability to personally discover a new chapter in the saga's history, memorable side characters, authentic feeling quests, and an ending that ranks as one of the greatest video game moments of all time. The KOTOR series would pave the way for future sci-fi RPGs.
You will be known as the saviors of the Republic.
The series then delved into MMO territory that same year with Star Wars Galaxies. A game with huge promise, Galaxies succeeded at gaining a dedicated player base, but its complex systems and eventual drop-off in population left Galaxies to slip into shadow.
It was 2011's The Old Republic which finally delivered the online Star Wars experience that fans deserved. Mixing the colourfully extensive Old Republic universe with up-to-date MMO mechanics, it gave players the chance to weave their own stories into the very fabric of Star Wars history.
Now you'll see what a Sith is capable of.
And while for many that's always been the ultimate goal, we still never want to let go of that dream of reliving our favourite moments from these classic films. To be one of the heroes, a farm boy who has to learn to master the Force.
An expendable space pilot who just can't stay on target.
A scruffy scoundrel who always shoots first.
A villain who signs up with the bad guys because they've got cooler outfits. Should probably go.
Or just boots on the ground as a galactic war rages on around us. And who knows, maybe that experience isn't as far, far away as we first thought.
Ugh.
What? Like in the movie.